All right, it looks like we're at time. So let's go ahead and get started with today's presentation. My name is Chinachun and I'm with NACV and the Consultants Training Institute. Before we get started with the Around the Valuation World International for March 24, 2025, I wanted to go over a few items. In regards to CPE, please remember to answer all the poll questions that pop up on your screen during today's webcast. If you have a subscription, a CPE subscription for the AVW International Webcast, a CPE certificate will be available through your nacv.com portal within 7 to 10 business days. If you have any questions during today's webcast, please use the Q&A feature, as those will be directed to the presenters. If you have any questions about NACV or any technical questions, please feel free to contact me through the chat feature. And there is the disclaimer. So we do have our editors for the show, which is Walking News, Andrew Newman and Pratik Shah, and Brian Jones is our advisor. Today we have Pratik joining us, who will be introducing our presenters for today. In the beginning of the show, we'll have the GACVA news, which we normally start with. Then we actually have two segments today. One with Mears and Nainesh on should AI be disclosed, recognize ethical and professional standards for using AI. And we also have Miranda Kishel, who is joining us, also AI related, about detecting AI generated content, how forensic accountants and business valuation professionals can give AI a run for its money. And both of those have been featured in our quick read as well. Just a quick GACV news item. I'm gonna play a quick video and then we'll get started with the presentations.
Windy Street is a prominent outsourcing firm in India that offers a comprehensive suite of services, including valuation, financial due diligence, accounting, auditing, and tax. Founded 3 years ago, with a clear vision to provide exceptional services to professional and accounting firms, we now proudly serve over 15 clients. Our success is built on our unwavering commitment to the values of trust, quality, and people. Our team of over 150 skilled professionals is led by a highly experienced leadership team. We bring unmatched expertise and dedication to every client relationship. At Windy Street, we believe in putting people at the heart of everything we do, our clients, our team, and our community. We also prioritize complete security and a robust IT infrastructure, ensuring that our clients' privacy and data are safeguarded at all times. With Windy Street, you're not just a client, you're a partner in a journey toward excellence.
All right, with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Pratik, who will get us started for our next segment. Pratik, are you there?
Oh, he's muted.
Sorry. So thank you, Chanda. And on behalf of AVW, I would be happy to welcome Nainesh, Miranda, and Nick today for the presentation of a couple of topics. Before we get started, I would just like to introduce Nick and Nainesh for the first segment. So Nick is the founder and managing member of CapRock Business Consulting, a business valuation and forensic litigation services practice located in Texas. With over 13 years of experience, Nick specializes in business valuation, financial forensics, especially in areas of family law, litigation and shareholder disputes, transaction consulting, commercial lending, and gift and estate tax matters. He's currently a faculty instructor for the National Training and Development Team for the NACVA, where he teaches the CBA curriculum, the BV Essentials course, and the Advanced Issues and Applications course. He's elected chair of the AI and Machine Learning Commission in 2024, is a current member of Ethics Oversight Board, and was previously a Standards Board member for 2019 to 2022 term. He has received multiple awards, and he's regularly invited as a guest speaker to local area bar association throughout Texas. So welcome, Nick. And Nainesh is a seasoned professional with over 25 years of experience in business valuation, investment management, and financial services. He is the co-founder and director of Valuation Advisory at Complete Advisors, where he specializes in valuation of complex and intangible assets. Nainesh's expertise has led him to design and execute sophisticated valuation models for a variety of assets, including public and private companies, patents, and private equity. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Nainesh is actively contributes to the field as a member of NACVA standard boards and AIML Commission. He also holds CFA designations and is committed to social impact through his involvement in Upaya social ventures. Uh, Nanesh's diverse experience combined with his professional certifications and dedication to ethical practice establishes him as a highly regarded figure in the world of business valuation. In addition to that, we have a very good friendship. So, I'm more than happy to introduce both of them to take forward the conversation. If anyone has any questions, please put your questions in chat box, and we will, take up the questions at the very end, just to make sure that the conversation is very focused. So, with that, over to Nainesh and Nick.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. It's definitely great to be here. I know Nainesh and I are pretty excited about AI topics. We recently, about 3 months ago, we were both co-presenting at the 2024 Business Valuation and Forensic Litigation Super Conference in Las Vegas. And we were concentrating on artificial intelligence and machine learning tools. Specifically, we were trying to bridge the gap between providing hands-on demonstration for the everyday analyst, manager, forensic practice owner, and bridging that gap between what is AI and then how do you actually use it. What we found is everyone was writing about it, and all these tools are coming out every single day, and there wasn't a whole lot of clarity on the most popular tools, the most user-friendly tools that we could use in the everyday practice. And Nainesh and I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out which are the most popular brands out there. What is everyone primarily using? And then how do we get people integrated into using it? And as we went down that path, as Nainesh will tell you too, we saw that there's a lot of, we were very aware of some of the issues with AI, and it was causing a lot of controversy within the valuation professional organizations, both domestic in the United States and outside of the United States as well. And we felt it was imperative to not only help people understand the most popular tools that are out there and really kind of limit those down and focus those tools into practical application and handhold people through that whole process, but also make practitioners aware of the issues that are aware. And during that national conference, we addressed all these issues, and we had correspondents coming back saying we really like some documentation rather than just, not everyone can sit in a presentation either virtually or dedicate that amount of time. So we wrote a quick read article, and that quick read article was published pretty recently, and it was addressing some of the issues that we were facing right at that time. There were publications coming out about people taking strong positions in about AI and should artificial intelligence and machine learning, if a user is using those applications in their forensic or valuation practice, should they be required to disclose the use of that AI and machine learning? And Nainesh, we were addressing this, and go ahead, Nainesh, tell a little bit.
So I'm glad you referred to our presentation in Las Vegas. This was a national conference for NACVA, and there were 4 distinct AI-related presentations. One was more what is AI and what's changing in that space, but the second one, which was more about 3 judge panel, and that focus was how AI should be used and what needs to be disclosed. And I think, Nick, what really came out, at least in my mind, is from judge's perspective, there is this Judge Driscoll, and he goes around the country talking to other judges about technology and AI. And I don't think judges are looking for clear disclosed statement on the evaluation report, but of course we'll go into a lot of detail about that. But so that was the second presentation. The other thing that I think I want to highlight here is I'm part of a standards board, and this is like a continuous conversation where we are talking about how one should use AI and how one should disclose it. So I think this was a timely article that we wrote, and we would like to explore it more here in this presentation.
Yeah, there's so much. I'm glad he mentioned he sits on the standards board. I sit on the ethics board, and we'll touch a little bit about one of the commissions that was recently created at the NACVA. We'll talk about a little bit about that later and why it kind of came together. But so much of this information, I mean, Nainesh and I have been using AI and experimenting with it for the past, I'd say, couple of years, and it's changing quickly. But the interesting thing that we found is no matter how fast it's changing in the current space that we're in, a lot of the core fundamentals with how it behaves and how you use it remain intact. So no matter the type of technology you're using to achieve your goal, there's still a core fundamental. And everyone was pushing Nainesh and other members of the standards board, as well as other valuation professional organizations around the world, to change the standards. And they wanted nomenclature to say, if you're using AI, you should disclose it. And it caused a lot of debate, not only around the world, but even within our own VPOs and our own standards boards. We addressed it in our ethics boards at length, not just once, I mean, multiple times over months, and figuring out how do we get information and direction to everyone so they know a little bit better of what they should be doing and how to use it. So we stirred up a quick read article that was pretty well summarizing some of the core fundamentals in that conference that we made in these slides today. And some of our the things that we wanted as major takeaways is, it is revolutionizing the way we work, how we innovate, and there's a lot of opportunities. But with all of these major breakthroughs that are just now starting, there's a core problem with some of these things that Nainesh will get into it in the next slide. But we want to be able to start challenging, hey, we want you to use this, but we want you to be able to do it responsibly.
Right. Yeah, I think, Nick, the intention here is, and was when we wrote the article, is the tools are here and now, and it's going to improve. And our intention is that membership starts using it, but there is this hurdle that everybody needs to overcome, which is it ethical? And is it necessary to disclose? And that's what we want to kind of clarify. Once that is out of the way, then you can dig deep into using the tools itself, because this is a hurdle, and you need to kind of conceptualize how should you think about it.
Yeah, and there's two. I think we kind of thought about AI in a business valuation and forensics practice into two buckets. One bucket being administrative tasks, being able to help you internally, whether it's addressing emails or sending invoices or negotiating with clients. And the other is doing technical work. And there are a lot of challenges. It cannot do mathematics very well, as we have found. We have even uploaded PDF files that have the formulas written out, and then ask it for the formula, and it cannot do it changes. Nainesh would write a prompt and ask it for a present value formula using mid-period discounting, and I would do the same, and we would get different results with the same information inputs. So there's a lot of inconsistency that's there. And one of the things that we found is you just need a lot of oversight, just like anything else. If you're using, say, the International Kroll Cost of Capital database to develop discount rates, you want to understand where that information is coming from. So you always have to use oversight. Just like Excel, if you're using a formula, a sum formula or an average formula, you should know how to do that by hand and how to verify. It's one of those trust but verify. Well, with AI, it's you want to verify it and then you want to use it.
Yeah, even more so, because one of the underlying factor that we all should know is that AI makes mistakes, hallucination, and I'm sure Miranda will talk more about it in the later presentation. But hallucination is a reality.
Yeah.
And if you use the output as it comes out from whatever chat tool you're using, you will make error in your report. And
Yeah, it has bias baked in it, right, Nainesh?
right. Yeah. So like any social media feed that you receive, any Google search that you receive, they are all biased based on either what they think you should be watching or looking, and AI is biased based on how its training databases. And in our mind, all training database has a biases, and that's you have to be aware of that.
When it's trained, those artificial intelligence and machine learning tools, they are trained, and their core fundamentals, their guts that we or they rather have trained these tools on. We provided that information. So I mean, if you wrote a book and it was full of your own internal bias and thought process, and you upload that book into a machine learning program as a knowledge base, as a resource, and you were biased when you did that, then AI could be biased in its output. So
not only that, Nick, have you asked the question? So the prompt, the way you ask the prompt to get the answer that you're looking for, that can be biased, and based on your prompt, the answer can be biased. So I think the critical factor here is be aware. The large language model has its own limitation. The prompting has its own challenges. And if you are aware, then you can think about whether you can use the result either in some form into your report or in other communication that you have.
Yeah, and it stems back to being aware and applying professional judgment. You cannot perform a professional service as a credentialed member, whether you're an I'm an MAFF, I'm also a CVA, and you can't perform a professional service without exercising professional judgment. It's inherent in your standards. And that's what I highlighted here. This was, I was previously a standards board member some moons ago, and I was part of the team that helped put the comparison charts together for both domestically in the United States and in the international chapters as well. And what I extracted from here is in the opening paragraph, it's professional judgment is an essential component of estimating value, and you can see, it's in RICS, in the CVV Institute, the IVSC. It's in everyone's standards. So if you are using an artificial intelligence or a machine learning tool, and you are not exercising some professional judgment or some oversight in that output, technically you could be departing from the intent of our professional standards, and you may be in violation of those. And a great way to think about this is he and I use economic reports all the time. We use artificial intelligence reports to synthesize and extract, pages and pages of detail. We can communicate with it and say, I'm valuing a construction company in this city, and these are the here's a 30-page economic report, highlight the specific things that would affect the construction industry and make it relevant and make it read like an annual report and make it sound really nice and add citations. And it will condense 30 pages into a few paragraphs that are very tailored for your purpose and your company and your industry and the drivers. But even though it's nice and it's been condensed, we read every sentence. And if there's a number or if there's a percentage, luckily with the AI tools now, you can click on the restructured sentence that it gave you, and it will tell you exactly where it found that data from. And occasionally we find errors, but the goal is it got us 99% of the way there. It made it sound really beautiful. It makes it work a lot better. It makes it enhances your output, and it reduces your time. The whole goal of this is to reduce your time, hopefully increase your efficiencies and your accuracy, but you still have to exercise that oversight. And where we've seen judges got involved. Nainesh talked about judges.
Yes, and Nick, it's worth pondering on this professional judgment for a second. Every single word that goes into your report has to be yours, or at least it has to be blessed by you, because your signature is on the report. And that's what I think from the judges panel that you referred to, that's what came out. Doesn't matter doesn't matter who wrote or what goes into the report. Every word is your own. And if you get challenged and you are a witness, you need to defend what you have written. So professional judgment, again, our NACVA standards are more principle based, and the principle here is your judgment is critical no matter what goes into your report.
Right. And we don't have, nowhere in our standards does it say you have to disclose all of your tools. So I don't disclose that I'm using Microsoft Word, that I communicated with clients using Outlook, that I use the Kroll database.
And even Google search. This is exactly what I asked the judges panel is like, you do Google search, do you have to save your search? And they said nobody has brought this up in their whatever time they've been working on the desk. And so, yeah.
And I still get pushback. We still get pushback on it, and we welcome it. The Google search is probably the best example because I can recall different elements where I have drafted reports and I've been cross-examined. I've testified numerous times, but I remember testifying once, and they had asked if I have drafts of my old reports, which are not discoverable in my state that I operate. And I said, no, I have one working draft for my report, and it's not finalized until I hit print. And they said, so you overwrite your reports? And I said, yes. And they said, so you, I'm trying to recall exactly what they said, but it was something to the effect of, you're destroying evidence. They were doing this to me. I was the expert. And they said, so you're overdoing, rewriting your stuff. You're destroying evidence. I look at that same comment with AI. If anyone has messed with ChatGPT or one of these chat AI tools, a lot of times it keeps the history of your chats. And just because you're chatting with it doesn't mean that you're going to take the first output. It takes a lot of massaging. Sometimes you're trying to get the right question out there. Do you want that entire chat history being disclosed? There's numerous problems with it. And I see the problem with disclosure as it's just too far. Your standards already require you to exercise judgment on the output. Even if management gives you a forecast, you have to exercise your judgment if you decide to use that forecast or not.
Exactly.
You have to own it. And most people say, well, who's better to provide the forecast than management? Did you ask for last year's? When did they prepare that forecast? Do they achieve the results that they were forecasting? You have to exercise judgment on every element in your forensic or your valuation engagement. AI is the same way, and so are those data tools.
Yeah, and if you're using some information that either came from website that AI looked at, you need to make sure that there is a footnote about it. You can't use something directly and not have your own take on it, and not disclose that. So the other thing, Nick, is there are a lot of conversations that's happening regarding AI. So I know Appraisal Foundation had a 1-hour call on different component of AI just a couple of months ago. Appraisal Foundation is the one which comes out with USPAP, and USPAP doesn't nobody specifically says that it needs to be disclosed, but this is a changing world, and it's a fluid situation. As of now, we have this opinion that your professional judgment should be enough, and disclosing that you used AI is not necessary.
Right. Yeah, so some of these, Nainesh talked about this earlier, some of those challenges with using any of the AI tools out there right now is he talked about hallucinations, giving you false positives. One thing that's really interesting about AI is its output will sound like it's an authority. So when you're talking with it, you're not talking to a dictionary. You're not talking necessarily to a factual output in every element, and it will sound like it knows what it's doing. And what's really interesting is when he had asked for the present value formula using mid-period discounting, and it does it wrong. It took it to the power and it subtracted a half year instead of adding the half year. He said that's not right. It should have been this. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it said, "Oh, you're right. I'm sorry." Right. So it sounds like it's in a place.
Never comes back and says, "I don't know." That's not the answer you'll see ever.
Yeah.
From one of the chats. So.
It's also funny too. They're still editing it. I remember less than 6 months ago, they were running studies and they found that AI was getting lazy on Fridays at about 3:00 because it found that we were the ones that were training it. It was learning from us, and it mimicked human behavior. So it started getting lazy. It would start not giving you answers or saying, "I don't know, that's not available," even though you were uploading the source and you knew where it was and you may have just been testing it.
Yeah, and didn't you say, Nick, that if you say please before the chat, the answer is different and probably higher quality?
Yes, it's really fascinating. They're trying to undo some of the things that they're finding. I started off being nice where I'm located, hospitality and being nice and saying please and thank you is always, kind of a must. And so I always said please and thank you. And I stopped because I realized I was talking to a machine. And wouldn't you know, months later, they found another study that it was if you were mean to your AI or if you were really demanding, it would not give you the right answers as statistically often as if you were being polite with it. So I've now since started being polite to my AI.
I know. Nick, we should touch on this last point on this slide. I think that's critical, and we're probably coming up on our time. But both Nick and I are on this AI Machine Learning Commission. And the agenda for that commission is to stay on top of artificial intelligence and its use for our field, and make sure that NACVA and GACVA stays more relevant and they are ahead of other valuation organizations in keeping up with AI. And Nick might have more to say on that.
Yeah, I think we were the first commission of any valuation professional organization to have its own separate committee designated to this. So really the Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Commission, its goal is to synthesize the extensive AI knowledge base into clear, practical guidance, helping you integrate AI innovations into valuation and litigation practices, specifically in a professional and ethical manner. And recently, this was in about the first quarter of this year, so it was early in this year, we at the NACVA issued an advisory brief, and it was dedicated to the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. That information can be found on the NACVA's website, and it's to clarify the role. That advisory brief went into a little bit more depth, and there were some examples about the role of professional judgment when using AI technologies. And one of the things that we pointed right back to were the standards, the NACVA professional standards, frequently asked questions. The question asked, was a member or credential designee, can they rely upon any information with any source without corroborating it if disclosed in the report? And the interpretation of that standard was the fact that a member can rely on information provided by any source without corroboration, if disclosed in the report, has no bearing on a trier or arbiter of fact. So Nainesh talked about judges earlier. You do not have to disclose it. It's not mandatory, but somebody else may look at this and say, you used AI to help you develop your forecast. Where did it get its source data? How did you verify that information? Did you verify that information? And we found people who are already using forecasts and not verifying those outputs, and they're saying, we don't know how it was calculated. That's a no-no. You shouldn't do that. If you're going to use an AI technology, you need to go back to the source document, and it's key to source the original document, because you should be verifying the output that it was correct. You can use something like AI to help you say it better, or tie those strings together. A lot of times, Nainesh and I will write many paragraphs and say it has all the right information, but it may not sound very good. And we will help it. We will use this tool to help it rearrange these words to make it sound and flow better. But we're still citing the original source document where these things came from.
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing that I think, Nick, we should highlight is because of this commission, there is a lot of activity happening in the field that combines forensic and valuation and AI. And there are a lot of training sessions that's coming up almost every other week. We have 6 or 8 sessions are already lined up. But if you're not aware, please mark your calendar. April 30th is this big announcement and information session that, of course, gives you CE credit, but also gives you information about what should expect in future from this commission and other related people who are involved with AI.
Yeah, that's a great point. Starting out on April 30th, every 2 weeks, we're going to be coming out with new AI segments at the NACVA level that you can get CPE credit for. And there's a vast array of topics. Some of those are how to write valuation reports better, how to review your valuation reports and maybe an opposing expert if you're in litigation for inconsistencies, if maybe somebody went too far. Help it check you for math, which again, you have to recheck it to make sure that its output was right. We're also going into different segments like creating your own custom valuation or forensic GPT, which is very easy to do. You don't need to have any advanced knowledge. The goal is you can come into one of these and with having no knowledge, and we show you where to go, how to sign up. We give you the materials to help you with the onboarding process, and then we show you how to do it. And then you'll have access to those recordings again to go back to your office and keep doing those things.
Yeah. So I think the first session, the 30th, April 30th, is a free session, and that will have a lot of the instructor talking about what they expect to do in coming days. And I think there's a first free session, which is another session which is more about foundational information, ethics of AI, what is right, what is wrong. So some of the things that we talk about here about hallucination and other things. So basics of AI. And there are also sessions that are connected with how to grow your practice. So, be on lookout for the information from the headquarters about all this coming down the pike.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway today is just make sure that you're maintaining your own personal awareness of AI's potential bias and inaccuracies, and make sure that you're just mitigating risk, you're exercising professional judgment, and then I say use it to your heart's content. There's
feel comfortable, understand, and feel comfortable, and then you should be in good hands.
Right. There's some additional resources that are also here as a part of these slides that you can look at that have the full international comparison chart, also the advisory brief, and then the quick article that we wrote as well. So
I think there's one question, Nick, in the chat from Javier.
Do you consider that an appropriate valuation quality control, taking into account AI and machine learning tools process, should always be put on in place Can it be helpful? If so, which stages within the evaluation process should it be used?
Maybe I'm not grasping the question fully, but where can we use? And I think it's evolving, right? We can definitely use it for a lot of easy communication, email communication, improving the language, getting some help from Excel related uh, formatting and tool set. So there are a lot of places we can use, but I don't think we are nowhere near in terms of using AI to write full section of a report or compute the numbers or tell you what to do. So I think I don't know. Am I reading the question correctly, Nick?
Well, I believe so. It's a hard one because I see it interpreted a couple different ways in my head. Whenever I am the creator, I create all of the output that comes out of my shop. So when I'm using an AI tool for a limited purpose, I'm exercising and going through that internal quality control live right then while I'm using it. I don't write a report or do my analysis and then go over here and do AI and then try to bridge the gap later. I think there was a little clarity to it from quality control perspective, because what I meant was quality control from the evaluator's perspective about valuation where AI is involved.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
can be done. And I think we are running out of time, but if you join one of our sessions, we'll talk about this.
Yeah, we'll go in much more depth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pratik.
Okay, so thank you, Nick and Nainesh. Really appreciate your insights. With that, I'll move on to Miranda. So Miranda Kishel is a manager at Gould and Pachter Associates, specializing in economic damages analysis, forensic accounting, and business valuation. She collaborates with expert witnesses on litigation support, complex financial investigations, and expert testimony preparation for legal disputes. With that, happy to invite Miranda to take the conversation forward on the next topic. So yes, and as again, please put your questions in chat box and we will respond at the end of the session. Thank you. Over to you, Miranda.
Thanks for having me today. Let me just get the presentation up here. Oh. All right, so I had some presenter notes in here that I was hoping to rely on a bit. Maybe Pratik, do you mind sharing your screen so I can have my notes up?
Yeah, I can share on Sashinda. Give me one moment and I'll get to that slide real quick, and just let me know when you want to advance.
Sounds great, thank you. Great job, Nick and Nainesh. I really liked your story about using please and thank you with AI. I've done that too, and actually, funny enough, my sister is a big fan of using AI too, and she and I have a little bit different styles of communicating with our chat GPTs, and we have noticed that mine is a lot more engaging and accurate and friendly because I use please and thank you with it, and she's a little bit more direct and bossy with it, and hers almost has an attitude now. So I definitely related to that part of your presentation. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so I'm here today to present my quick read article, Detecting AI-Generated Content, How Forensic Accountants and Business Valuation Professionals Can Give AI a Run for Its Money. All right, so if there's one thing I hope you guys take away from today's presentation, it's that in our profession, AI is still very new. It's still learning, it still has a lot of potential. It has a lot of great applications so far. Personally, I'm a huge fan of AI, and I think it has a lot of great potential coming. But we also need to recognize that AI-generated content is still very new. There's a lot of biases, there's hallucinations, there's some inaccuracies still, and it's not at the point where it can fully replace what we're doing. So we have to really make sure we're not leaning on it too much, because our credibility, especially when we are presenting something in court, the integrity of the report and the professional trust that those relying on our reports have to have, it really necessitates us to fact check our AI to make sure we're not putting too much AI content into our reports, and we're really just using it within its current limits. So let's talk a bit more about that. So imagine you're reviewing a report submitted by an opposing expert in a case where you're representing the plaintiff, the other side's representing the defendant. Their report is well structured, it's methodical, it's precise, almost to the point that it's too precise. And you're wondering, did this expert actually write this report, or did AI do it for them? So that's what we're talking about today. It's something that could change the way we approach forensic accounting and business valuation rebuttals and the work we're doing in litigation cases. Detecting AI-generated content is almost as new as AI itself. As professionals, we rely on our expertise, experience, and judgment to create reports that can stand up in court and inform business decisions and ensure that we're getting the financial facts correct. But when AI starts to write those reports for us or for the other side, there's challenges that come with that. So AI writing a report isn't science fiction. It's not years away. It's at the point now where AI can certainly portray to you that it's competent to write a report, but it's not at the point where you'd want to trust it to actually do that. So that's why we need to talk about finding AI content and being able to identify it when needed. All right, so next slide, please. So AI detection tools are like lie detectors of the digital age. These tools analyze text the same way we look at financial statements. They look for anomalies, patterns, and inconsistencies. So they do this by looking for linguistic patterns. Typically, if you've worked with AI, you know that it has a certain tone and style. It's often very repetitive. It's very formal, lacks variability. It is very tough to get it to put a funny joke in the writing. Its sentences are very predictable, while human writing is a little bit more nuanced. AI tends to pick safe words. And what I mean by that is the way AI is set up. It's choosing statistically best words. So it's not actually using logic and reasoning. It's using statistical models to decide what word should come next based on the thousands of pieces of content that it's read. So it is very predictable. AI detection tools look for those patterns, and certain models, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or another one, have slight variability, but generally these tools have a certain pattern. And these AI detection tools, which funny enough are actually AI themselves, can recognize that pattern, and they assign a score. For example, 75% likely to be human written or 60% likely to be written by AI. However, this is actually not a foolproof method. So this is where it gets pretty interesting for us as forensic accountants and business valuation professionals. We actually confuse AI detectors. So our profession has always been kind of robotic. It's been accused of sounding robotic. I'm sure we've all heard jokes about accountants being dry, reports being tough to read. They're very formal, professional, very technical. And it turns out that AI is actually quite similar in that sense. AI reports are very structured, they're very technical, they're very methodical, and the same things that the AI detector is looking at to identify AI writing, it's also seeing in our own reports. So these tools are not perfectly accurate for what we do, but they can be a useful tool in some cases. So AI is looking for writing that's very structured, but that's exactly how we write. Our reports are meant to be precise, reliable, and full of industry jargon. So that is something AI detection also looks at for flagging work as AI generated. So even if it's 100% human, there are certain words that it will just flag as AI. Comprehensive is one of them, for example. So the writing style that makes us professionals in this field is the same style that makes us suspicious to AI detectors. All right, so let's talk about how this matters to the work we do in litigation. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So what happens if an opposing expert's report is AI generated? Let's say you suspect that's the case, and you're thinking it's either partially or fully written by AI. First, there's 3 things wrong with that. The expert's credibility, integrity, and admissibility comes into question. This ties into the presentation we just heard. So with credibility, if AI wrote large portions of the report, how much of it actually reflects the expert's knowledge? Our professional standards hold us accountable for the work that goes into our reports. And if we're signing off on it without fact checking it and reviewing it and not ensuring it's accurate, that hurts our credibility and the credibility of our credential holders here. So we definitely don't want that. Integrity concerns are another thing to think about when we're looking for AI generated content in reports. So can the expert presenting that report actually explain what's in it without relying on the AI generated text? So do they actually know what's in the report, or were they just rushing through it and putting it out without fully making sure that it's what they want to say? There are some risks of legal implications. So when you're presenting this report in court, if the court finds it to be something that is a valid challenge and your admissibility is not, and if admissibility is a challenge and you become excluded from testifying about all or part of your report, that is a serious concern with AI generated content. Let's go to the next slide here. And can you imagine being asked one of these questions in a deposition or in court? So if you were asked by the other experts, by the other side's legal counsel, did you personally write this analysis or did AI do it for you? What part of this work is your own and which parts did AI write? And can you justify your opinions without referring to the AI generated report? If you don't have a good answer for these, it's very tough to remain credible. It's very tough to beat an admissibility challenge. So if you suspect an AI, heavy AI involvement in the other expert's report, and you are seeing that it's impacting the quality of that report and its accuracy, it's definitely something that you should flag and bring up. Any inconsistencies should definitely be questioned in a deposition. And there are some really good ways to check, but keep in mind these are not 100% accurate. So if we can go to the next slide here, I'll talk a bit about the experiment that I did on these AI detection tools. So there are hundreds of these tools out there. I picked 3 free ones, Grammarly AI, Phrasely AI, and Zero GPT. So Grammarly was the most accurate. And keep in mind, each of these I tested the free versions, but there are paid versions that supposedly boast more accuracy. Grammarly AI did the best with the free version. The other 2 did not do very well. Basically, what I did for this experiment is I took a paragraph from the expert report template that we use, basically the one that says, my professional profile is attached to this report. I reserve the right to update this report upon further information. I had AI put together a similar paragraph on those same topics, and I ran both paragraphs through each of these 3 tools. Grammarly was the only one that correctly identified which was AI and which was human. The other ones had a human written bias, meaning that when I ran the same 2 paragraphs through Phrasely and Zero GPT, the AI thought both paragraphs were human written, when in reality, only one of them was. So what this means for us is that when we're using these AI detection tools, they're helpful, but they're not foolproof. We want to make sure to not necessarily take the word of AI detection rules as fact. It's really just to give us a little bit more clarity and insight and support for our hypothesis if something is written by AI. So let's talk about how to stay ahead of AI detection issues. So this is not intended to be a way to outsmart AI detection. This is a way to use AI in your writing but to put boundaries around it to make sure that the content you're producing is high quality. It's not fooling the AI detector. That's not the purpose of this. This is just best practices for how you can still incorporate AI into the work that you do, keeping in mind that AI detection tools are also out there. So when you're looking at an opposing expert's report, if you see a lot of signs of AI writing and you suspect it's heavily AI written and it's affecting the accuracy and credibility of the other expert in the report, it's definitely worth running it through an AI detector. You'll want to play around with some of them and find which one is the most accurate. Because like I said, there are hundreds of them out there. Grammarly was the one that I found that seemed to be the most accurate, but they are improving every day. So there are lots of tools that can help you do this. Be aware that also these tools give a percentage score of how likely it is to be written by AI. So just because something comes back and says it's 60% likely to be written by AI, it doesn't mean that 60% of it's written by AI or that even any of it's written by AI. It's a statistical score to give you an idea of whether or not you're onto something when you say, the other expert didn't write this report, ChatGPT did. And so if that's something that would be helpful to your case with rebutting another expert's report, it's a tool that you have in your toolbox, but it's not a foolproof one yet. So something that you'll want to do, knowing that these AI detectors are out there, is you'll also want to always be working on your own writing style. So there's the theory of, do you want to have a very technical, precise, factual report that's very dry, very professional, very readable to people in the profession? Or do you want a report that's readable by the end user? So when you're writing a report, are you writing it for yourself, or are you writing it for a jury who might not have the same understanding of these technical words, technical jargon, in the very technical report? The report sometimes can be more impactful when you incorporate human elements into them, if you make the writing engaging. And knowing that these AI detecting tools are out there, it can also be a way to help defend the fact that you did write this report if you're including those human elements in your writing. And so anytime that you see AI being misused in another expert's report, it's definitely valid to challenge that. The AI detection tools can help question other experts' credibility, but again, they're not quite foolproof. So those are some of the things to take away from this and how to stay ahead of an AI detector tool. All right, and then to wrap up the presentation here, AI can help us write content. It can't replace our judgment. So what makes us experts is still that human aspect. When a client hires us to help them, they're not hiring us to be their ChatGPT input person. They're hiring us for the human aspect, and that's what's still going to differentiate us. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and all these other AI tools can definitely be a great help in simplifying some of the more repetitive and technical writing aspects. It's great for brainstorming. It's great for proofreading and editing. You can say, I need help rewording this paragraph so it's more clear, but it can't actually replace you yet. So with that in mind, there are lots of great benefits for AI though. If you're looking for some additional resources on this, there's my quick read article out there. There's also a link to the AI detection tool that I found to be the most accurate. And I'm always happy to help with questions on this kind of thing too. So you can reach out to me using my email or phone number there.
Great. All right. Thank you, Miranda. Is that the end of it?
That is, okay. Yes. Thank you.
Just want to make sure. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And also want to thank Nick and Nainesh for joining us today as well. It's great presentations. I said next session will be on April 28th, 2025. We hope to you're all able to join us again next month. And I just had that last poll question launched, so please respond to that to make sure that you have received your CPE if you have a subscription with us. And yeah, thanks again everyone for joining us, and thanks again to all our presenters. Hope you guys have a great day. week, I guess.
Thank you, everyone.